Good morning. Actually, it's good afternoon. It is the 15th of August. It's going to be the 15th of August all day long. Putin and what's his name are meeting in Alaska. Now, I have posted two videos early this morning, and the first one was basically a wake up call. Everything is a rich man's trick from JFK to 9/11. It is a long video, and I've seen the link pop up many times, been shared with me, and I figured I don't want to watch it this long. I implore you to start the video, because the sooner you see it, the sooner you're going to understand so much more. I guess the main thing is we need to accept the fact that we're not a very nice country, and we are questionable people. We have ourselves fooled into thinking that we're the good guys, and we really aren't. And so when you watch the video that's an hour, 3.5 hours long, you're going to come to the conclusion that there are no black hats and there are no white hats. It's a reality check. It's time for us to admit there are no black hats. There are no white hats. And I think the amazing thing is when these recognized heads of the families at the top of the food chain on these 5 crime syndicates, they've actually contributed to our understanding. And in this video, they're quoted, cited as the authorities they are. And so the real conclusion is that the answer to the question, who killed Kennedy, was America killed Kennedy. We've been taken over time, and their grip has gotten tighter on us. It's not strictly the Jews. And one of the nice things about this video that you're going to see, JFK to 9/11, is that you're going to realize how close we have come to pulling ourselves out of the mess. But at this point, we're in the deepest part of it ever, because the people that are controlling things are willing to nuke us. They worship the devil, their father actually, and they are the children of the devil. So they set it up and they killed Kennedy. Now, on this video, 3 hours 24, almost 3 hours 25 minutes, they cover 7 shooting positions, and there were a couple more shooting positions. And I think they missed out on a couple, but it almost doesn't matter, because so many people were involved, so many rounds were fired, and this was such an ironclad trap for President Kennedy that we have to acknowledge at this point that that's when they pulled a coup and they took over America, and they are still in charge. Now, my take on it is I think we stop participating. We withdraw our consent. We secede, not as states, as individuals. We secede. We pull back from it and say, hey, it's a crooked criminal system. I'm not contributing anything to it. I don't want to give it the time of day. And you can claim patriotism all you want, but there's nothing patriotic about it. And as far as the Holocaust, which I call the Holo hoax, it has me questioning my term Holo hoax. And it's really a shock when you realize who it was that was benefiting from the slave labor. And it's really a shock because so much was left out of the film, out of the video. It's a documentary. They couldn't get it all in there. But they have got the bad guys. And we actually have family members of the bad guys that are testifying to all of this. And Kay Griggs is on there. And she gave us a lot of testimony a long time ago. So America is not the United States of America. America is not the 14th Amendment America, whereby the blacks were made 3/10 of a human being for the purposes of counting and representation. And Indians were not even 1/10. And the fact is that prior to the 14th Amendment, which, by the way, was never properly ratified, we were considered citizens of our states, not these current states that we have today, which are incorporated. They've incorporated it so they can pull legal frauds on us, and they could take the power and enslave us. So we are definitely enslaved here. This is definitely a slave system in the United States of America. And they are tightening the noose every day as fast as they can with their star, the star of the show, Donald J. Trump. These two men that will be getting together today, is it Vladimir Putin? You need to understand something. They're both pretty much made men. And in the mob, a made man means basically that you paid the price. You took somebody's life and were fully indoctrinated because you committed murder. They are made men. They have committed murders. Maybe not with their own hands. But I want you to understand, Vladimir Putin has been on this stage acting his role for a lot longer than Trump has been. And Putin wasn't from intelligence. Trump is from entertainment. And intelligence put him forward. And in Putin's background, there was an apartment complex that was bombed. It was terrorism there in the Soviet Union. And, as has been said, they have to provide us with a hero. They also provide us with enemies. So they provided the Soviet Union, the peoples of the Soviet Union, with a hero, and that was Mr. Putin. However, it appears to have been a false flag, set up purposely to put Mr. Putin into power. So these people that are running the whole show are literally calling those shots, setting the stage. They're scripting it. They're telling them what words to use, how to present things, and they're giving orders. So all of these people that we see out on the world stage are just the actors. They're the puppets. They're the ones that are playing their roles for the masters in the background. It's not hard to figure out who the masters are. The problem is we don't have any resolve to do anything about it. Now, their biggest fear is what we call the lone wolf. The lone wolf assassin, the lone wolf hitman, the wolf who is off on his own independently and is not socializing because they can't track his ass nearly as well, or her ass. And they also know that those folks are effective, and they're worried about that. However, the spying system that they have, the surveillance system, was set up decades earlier than what you and I think. They had the relational databases before the year 2000. They've had artificial intelligence during that entire time. They just haven't revealed it. They've been using it. And artificial intelligence is not that good. It's not that hot. But here's the real problem. So you can recognize all the players from watching the documentary, and you'll realize then that everyone in the news media is crooked. Every one of them is a fraud. Every one of them is part of the con game. So we have that. We also have the banks, the national banks, which are problems because it's a fraudulent system that they are operating in. But the fact is that so many people are paid off. There's so many jobs from these things. There's so much of a little cut here, a little cut there, and so much big payoff for certain professions that it looks like we can't stop them. So I want to tell you, above all, that the professions have been turned against the laity. And your highest paid profession is the most evil and the most dangerous. That would be your physicians. And your second highest paid profession is extremely evil as well and vicious. That would be your attorneys. But then at the very top, you have the philanthropists. You know, the people that give money to good causes. Well, you got to remember, Satan was an angel of light. When he appeared in the garden to seduce Eve, he didn't appear as a bad guy. He sprinkled himself with whatever it was to make himself look like Yahweh and fool Eve, to engage Eve in sex, and to sneak his way into the family of Yahweh. Yahweh decided to have a family on the earth. He wanted to be, and Satan wanted to put his head above Yahweh's head. Felt like he was made better. Felt like he was better. And he wanted to be able to do that. He wanted to become part of Yahweh's family. And so Satan says, we believe this is the case, according to Pastor Jerry Wicke. Satan says, I'll marry into the family. Then he has no choice but to accept me as his son-in-law. So that's exactly what happened. And yes, Bibi Netanyahu and the people over there and the people who run things here are all the devil's offspring. If they are not the literal DNA devil, devil's children, then they have aligned their spirits and sold out and gone to the dark side. I'm telling you that dichotomy. I don't like it much. I don't know if it's a rigid, ironclad, strictly this way or strictly that way, because I can see those who, well, let's put it this way. It is confusing. Yahweh is not the author of confusion. It's Satan. But you need to understand, Satan took with him a third of the heavenly host. And we have a story in a book that I do actually own it. It's in a copy of the new Bible that I bought up here. I haven't read it yet. And the word was that 200 fallen angels gathered on Mount Hermon to do the big conspiracy and the big giant fraud. And in case you're wondering, that was not thousands of years ago. It was far more recent than what we realize. It certainly wasn't tens of thousands of years ago. It could have been a previous Earth age. It could have been a story that made it across one of those timelines. But I think that we have to individually secede from the Union. We have to withdraw our consent and tell them, no, I'm not a citizen of this federal corporation. the one which is enslaving us and harming the rest of the world. And I'm just learning how to do this stuff and just learning how to represent myself and watching other men walk into court and leave the judges speechless because they speak nothing but the truth. And the judges are hesitant to speak up because these men who show up and do that know the law better than the judges do and calls them out. And it's a big system. So if you're in a lower level court, all those documents that you have signed over, all those financial instruments, everything becomes bonded. And at the end of 3 years, so it appears, they turn those in and they are given bigger rewards. They're paid off very well. They're not paid off, so if you're paying $100, $150 in court fees, filing fees, that's not what they cash it in for. They're cashing in for maybe $1.5 million. That's right. They're liars. They're the biggest thieves in the world. Wear black robes. So we have to learn to be our own attorneys. And you can't trust the professions at this point. All of the medicine that they've come up with for us humans, they've done the same thing with our animals. So that they charge too much for the service to begin with in the products. They're making a tremendous amount of money on it. And that's their motivation. So they will do treatments, medications, services that aren't necessary and make a good amount of money. But it's the same for the animals as it is for us. Oh, sure, they'll pay to have you have a mammogram done for you. But the problem is the mammogram increases your risk of what it is they're trying to supposedly prevent. And the same with the biopsy. The biopsy they're doing, it also puts you at tremendous risk and has the unintended, maybe really intended, consequence of piercing a sac that your body has sequestered off for its safety. The immune system is protecting you, and you put a needle in that son of a bitch, and it opens up and lets that bad stuff out into the rest of the body. They'll pay for those procedures, and a lot of those procedures that we do here in America aren't even legal to do in any of the European nations. And a lot of the food additives and the water additives aren't legal over there, haven't been legal over there for 3 decades in some cases. It hasn't been legal, but it's still legal here. And so we've become the dumping grounds where, if the chemical can't be used abroad, they ship it in here and give it to us. They're so nice and kind. We have to learn how to take care of our pets and our animals and ourselves. My God, when they lived on the farms, so much knowledge must have been transferred. It was a way of life, and the kids were right there with their parents dealing with all of this stuff, so they knew how to take care of it. They weren't going to hire somebody else to do a job that they knew how to do themselves, that they would do a better job for themselves on. We're pretty screwed because these people now are claiming that they're going to wage more war on us, that they think that we got to go do some horrible stuff to each other. I was really shocked when I found out that Henry Ford used to sell his cars with one of his books in the glove box of every one of them, telling everybody how bad the Jews were. The crazy thing is they weren't anywhere near as bad as Henry Ford himself was. Henry Ford, talk about trading with the enemy, Henry Ford made sure that the German armies had good engines, good ball bearings. Standard Oil made sure that they had the additive necessary so their planes could take off so their planes could fly. And we had companies over here in our country who made the best ball bearings, and they had to have those ball bearings so their tanks could rotate the turrets. All of that stuff came from the American philanthropist, the industrialist, the cream of the crop, the people at the top, the richest people, the philanthropists, and were given to Herr Hitler and his crew. We built them up and formed their stuff. And to be honest with you, I think that Edwin Black, in his book, The Transfer Agreement, he made a statement. I think it began one of the chapters even. He said, Adolf Hitler may rightly be considered the father of modern Israel. Start telling people that. Start telling yourself that and tell them, yeah, Adolf Hitler was the father of modern Israel because the wealthy Jews who were inside Germany, they and their wealth were trapped. And the only way to get it out was through the transfer agreement. And that's why all that high-tech, high-industrial stuff, high-quality parts, not Volkswagens, end up with Mercedes-Benz in Palestine. And by the way, Palestine has reverted. It is, or was, the promised land, and it has once again become the land of Canaan. Share that with the average person. It has reverted, regressed to the land of Canaan. And my friend tells me there's 60,000 Satanists there, and he wants to prove it. He sends me a link. And apparently, they're having nighttime celebrations, burning effigies, symbols, and worshiping the Satans, burning, I don't know, probably the cremation of care like happens in the Bohemian Grove, but they're doing this on a regular basis, very much every night. And they are having orgies as well. And they have all their amazing genders and transgender, all that stuff going on. And they worship the father, the devil, openly. And they sacrifice. They sacrifice human beings. They think it's funny. And really, the sad thing is, I saw videos in which it was pointed out that our contractors, American mercenaries, hired by our government to go over there and help deliver the food, are enjoying. There was recordings of them commenting about the killing of these children as if it's entertainment and they approve of it. It's not very professional, if you ask me. Even if your job is to kill the children, it's not very professional. It doesn't look good. But the fact is that we aren't the good guys. We haven't been the good guys in a long time. Now, we could give them the good guys, but I don't want to sacrifice any of us. I don't want to send anybody over there to sacrifice them at all. The most important thing would be to declare it what it is, a major genocide. And to identify the Israelis over there as not being Israelites. They're not Israelites at all. They're not descendants of Israel the man. They're not descendants of Jacob. They're from Jacob's twin brother Esau, who married daughters of the devil, married the Canaanites in the land, and that's how his seed became tainted. He got himself kicked out of the family of God. He had been warned. He did it anyway. I saw the black Hebrew Israelite stuff again. Somebody said in a locked up cave in Iran, they had opened it up and they found all of this old stuff with nothing but black men, black women featured in the art for the saints Probably for Yeshua as well, but they didn't show that to us. Anyway, they're trying to claim that the blacks are the original Hebrews. I don't agree with that. But I have a friend who was a New York Fire Department fireman, and he has since passed away. He was exposed to all of that asbestos and all of that ugly stuff, including the radiation that was on the scene, because they used nukes in the basement. Short-lived tactical nukes. We should know we made them. The Israelis, the false Jews, the fake Judahites, detonated those in the basement of each building. They wanted to make sure they came down. The firemen reported the explosions in the basements, nuclear explosions, W-54 warheads off a Davy Crockett tactical artillery piece, nuclear tipped. And so there are two nations on the face of the earth that have used nuclear weapons against other humans. And we can argue that there's really only one, because the bad guys inside of our country who would usurp power made sure to detonate the first nuclear bomb on the only Christian church in Hiroshima. And that was ground zero. And they landed the bomb right on top of it, symbolically. We need to pull ourselves up as fast as we can. You need to buy one of my Bibles. Call the number down below and buy a Bible for yourself. Buy a spare one. Buy one to mark up and study up. Buy one to keep pristine. The prices are pretty low right now. They're going to be going up quite a bit here shortly. So please buy them now. Call up. I give you the number. Call them up and tell them Dr. Kent says he's got the best price. And I need to call you and talk with you about that. Get that thing ordered up and get it in your hands. Start reading it. And don't try to do an in-depth study on the thing. Just read it broadly overall to get the gist of what it's about. Because it's a unified work. It's not a New Testament separate from the Old Testament. And it's also not a new peoples versus an old peoples. It's actually a new covenant with the original peoples. That's what the Bible tells us anyway. You either believe it and accept it, or you don't and reject it. You need to cultivate the Holy Spirit. You need to pray that the Holy Spirit helps you to understand what it is you're reading. And the Bible will open itself up to you. It doesn't open itself up to the casual reader, not very well. But the sooner you get to reading it, the sooner you're going to get salvation. I believe salvation is present tense. I believe it happens right here and now. And the sooner you get that, the better life you're going to have, and the better outcome, and the better future you're going to have beyond this life. I know we can take it, there's so much in it, and we can turn it and twist it to suit our needs, what we want it to mean, but that's not the way to go. And we have all these preconceived notions out there, like with Governor Huckabee, that, you got to bless the Jews, or who's that? That senator from... All of those people tell us you got to bless the Jews, so we will be blessed. No, it doesn't say bless the Jews. There were no Jews back then. There were no Jews in the entire book of Genesis. You had Judahites, people who lived in Judea, yes, but they've gotten us confused between that and what we have that's called a modern Jew. And they try to tell us that it's a Judeo-Christian heritage, as if Judaism was here first. And I realize that might be a little hard for you to swallow, but I assure you, Judaism was not here first. Some of the roots, the bad angels gathered at Mount Hermon, 200 of them, conspiring to have sex with the daughters of men and have children by them, take all that they wanted. And we do have a problem, by the way, because nowhere in any literature, inside the Bible or outside the Bible, do we find a record of the women, the daughters of men, Yahweh's daughters, Yahweh's family. Nowhere do they object to pairing off and mating with these fallen angels. I believe that's because they thought it was an upgrade. So who are they going to be? To say, hey, I got a better husband, a better father. I'm going to have bigger children. I'm going to have children with special abilities compared to this average guy over here. Yeah, females choose their mates. I'm going to argue with my lady friend about that. I don't care who wins the argument, if you know what I mean. Just important that we have that argument and engage it, and maybe we can stop accusing each other of instigating things, and maybe we'll get along a little better. Who knows? I would ask you to pray for me. I need help with my health, help with my planning, help keeping myself upright with all this overwhelming information. And I know that if you just discovered this channel, I know that there's a lot of information that's implied here even, and it can be overwhelming. And when you watch this video, JFK to 9/11, everything is a rich man's trick, there's a lot that's implied there too, and a lot that was not mentioned directly in there that you will find to be the case. So I think we have a documentary, which very much like the Bible is a golden standard, a yardstick by which we may measure and compare other bits and pieces of knowledge and disciplines that we happen to learn of, and technologies and history. But if you're young, realize that the work is in front of us. It's not behind us. When I was a little kid, I come home, what grade was I in? 3rd grade. I come home with my paperback copy of this book, The Boy Scientist. And it was a paperback, and it was filled with experiments for children to do to discover scientific principles. And I had been doing this. I was really enthusiastic about this. I come home one day from 3rd grade, and I was dejected, depressed. And my mother asked me what was wrong. Well, I had developed some sense of awareness, some self-awareness. I was entering into the age of reason, the age of self-awareness. And what I realized was all of these experiments that I thought I was doing to discover things, somebody else had already done it before. They already had discovered it. They knew it all. My mother didn't challenge my assumption. She let me run with that. And the fact is that we don't know much of anything. That it's been hidden from us. Our actual history, the real dates, the real structure of the universe, the real science has been hidden from us. And they keep chopping it up and hiding stuff from us all the time. And we certainly don't have proper history. As Mr. Henry Ford said, all history is bunk. He should know he was busy making history and making sure that it got written up favorably for him. I always thought Mr. Ford, the great industrialist, tried to warn us about the danger of the Jews, and also tried to warn us about the communists, about the takeover and all of that horrible stuff. No, he was up there playing both sides, or should I say all sides. They were running everybody game against everybody else. Told my lady friend, you have to think of the insurance business. And she says she thinks it's a fraud. Well, Lloyd's of London, back then they had ships, and they insured the ships against loss so that people could afford to continue on. So for what was supposed to be a small fee, you had coverage. So if the ship went down, if something untoward happened and you lost your cargo, you would get reimbursed. And so Lloyd's of London wrote the insurance policies. And then we had a class of men and women who were the underwriters. And basically what it comes down to is that they took the liability. And the reason for that is so they could make the bulk of the profits. And they also opened themselves up to losing everything they had in fulfillment of paying off the insurance claim. Now, back then everything was transported by ship. Admiralty law, maritime law, the law of the sea. And so the ship's owners would apply for insurance. Maybe it was the ship captains. I wasn't there, but somebody who was in charge, was an authority, showed up to buy the insurance policy, to put that in place to cover themselves. And they would have to reveal what the cargo was to declare its value, what its worth was. And they came up with bills of lading and all kinds of stuff on that we used, those instruments we use today. And I'll be damned. If they jacked up the price of the insurance too high, the owner of the ship, the captain of the ship, the owner of the merchandise would elect not to buy the insurance because it was too expensive. But what they did not know is that when they left the insurance agent's office, they thought they were going about their merry way and going to take their chances on the open seas. Oh no. The insurance agent informed his counterpart. And the counterpart would be told, this is what they're carrying, this is what their route is, this is where they're going. Go pirate them. Go take the loot. Go get the loot. Go take it from them. And people never put two and two together. They didn't realize, or very few of them realized, that the pirates and the insurance were one of the same. They were two sides of the same evil coin. And that's what our government is. And the crazy thing is, as you watch JFK to 9/11, you're going to hear some wisdom coming from some people that are regarded as low-life criminals, bad guys. But they actually speak more truth than the supposed good guys do. And they tell you that it's all the same thing. They're working together. That's pretty much hell on earth today. So, I want you to withdraw your consent, withdraw from your adhesion contracts, if you can sort that out, and I want you to reclaim your rights to your own property, your own self, and I want you to declare yourself a citizen, a landed citizen of your state, not of the incorporated state, but of the organic state, because then you're going to be under the Constitution. That doesn't mean your rights are handed to you. You're probably going to have to carry a doggone musket, a flintlock, a pistol, a short sword. You're going to have to arm yourself up because they will come after us all. They'll come after you, and they'll go after you by yourself. And you do, if you can, you want to exercise your full Second Amendment right. And the part most people don't exercise or fail to exercise is their right to a well-regulated militia. I usually have this stuff up here somewhere, not too far away, in its little tiny booklets. Not there, not there, not there, not there. Oh, not there. It's probably tucked away for a change. But it says, for a well-regulated militia being necessary for a free people. So you want to be a free people? Then you have to pay the price. You have to pay your dues. You have to become a member in good standing of your militia. And you may say, well, I don't want to fight. Well, nobody really wants to fight. But you need the militia because you're not going to be enough. And you're going to need some backing. And if you get emotional about it and they take advantage of your emotionality and you can't think straight, you're going to need somebody you can trust to turn to for some guidance. Yes, you can turn to the Bible, you can pray, you can turn to Yahweh. But there's nothing like having some more men and some more arms. These arms, I don't have anything handy. It's made out of metal, but you need to have armaments. Notice I didn't call them weapons. Why? Because a weapon has a legal definition, a legal precedent. Sir, the weapon is what was used in the commission of a crime. I don't have anything that's been used in the commission of a crime, as far as I can tell. But if you are a member of the militia in good standing, that's going to help you. It's going to give you some status. That means that the sheriff decides he wants to screw with you, or the judge wants something to do with you. He's got to make sure to respect your rights, because the other members of the militia aren't going to stand for him interfering with your rights. And that's what it comes down to. And we have to do that again. And you may think, oh, that's regression. That's horrible. That's really barbaric. It's not barbaric. It's not horrible. It's what we do as a free people, as we rule ourselves. And we do that by policing ourselves. We don't have professional police. We don't engage professional police. We don't need professional police. And in the old days, the early days, we had sheriffs. And the sheriffs turned to us for manpower, turned to us for backing. And we backed the sheriffs. And the same with the judges. We were their backing. We have to go back to that. A return to self-rule. Now this is what we call a revolution. A revolving door, a return to self-rule, which is what happened in our first war. It was a war of self-defense. We had not rebelled against the King of England. We rebelled against the laws, and we were attacked by the French, the most powerful navy, most powerful nation at the time, the French king, most powerful. And they were harassing us. They had warships. We didn't have any ships. Certainly not warships. We didn't have a navy. The king, our king, would never allow us to have our own navy. He'd be afraid of us if we had our own navy. So when the king failed to defend us, he gave us our freedom. Vattel's Law of Nations. And the king made some sort of a statement. I don't have a good source for this. Maybe you can come up with one and tell us about it. But the king was heard to say, in 2 years they'll be begging me to take them back anyway. So he let the colonists go on their own. He gave us independence. We didn't take it. And then, about 4 years later, we're doing pretty good. We're defending ourselves. We got some ships. They're not anywhere near as good as the King's ships, but we've got some things going on. We've learned how to make our own firearms. We've been casting cannon. We've been making new machines, including machine guns, by the way. Full automatics were legal back then. And the average guy could have whatever he could make or have made for himself, whatever he could afford. And most people made their own guns and their own swords. The king decided he wanted us back, but it was too late. And he attacked us. Hence, it became a war of self-defense. Yahweh blesses self-defense. Yahweh does not bless rebellion. What Satan did was rebellion. What the French did was rebellion. The rebellion was fomented by the Jacobins, which were some sort of weird offshoot of the Sabians, a group that believed that things had to get bad before you could get the Savior back here, and the more sinning that you did, the more it freed you up. It was kind of an inverted. It was inverted. It wasn't a common sense law-abiding thing. It was a devil worshiping, horrible satanic thing. I'm going to go, and I'm going to try to take care of my own stuff. I've enjoyed this cup of ice. Well, there was no ice in it, but it was cold coffee. I've enjoyed that with you. Doesn't settle real great. I've got to get something else in my stomach. I think Joseph Smith was right when it came to strong drink. It just isn't a good idea, even to this day. And I know from my practice as a psychologist that half of people with panic attacks, it's associated with caffeine, having too much caffeine. I know that today a large part of that is due to the molds that are present in the ground coffee that's on the shelves today, and that will increase your anxiety as well. So may Yahweh bless. Say your prayers. Ask for forgiveness on the things that you've done you know that you wish you hadn't done. And always remember that you have your own burden because of your own personality and your own foibles, the sinning that you've done. A lot of it you don't even recognize as sin. But his burden, his yoke, is much lighter than the yoke we take upon ourselves. And that what's due to us from the instant retribution, instant karma that we have coming to ourselves for our bad behavior. That's part of why I say salvation is in the present. Because we are all basically eternal beings in our essence. But we get filtered out from here. So a lot of those people that you see and that you think are highfalutin aren't going to make it. They're going to end up in the lake of fire. They're not going to end up in the promised land. They're not going to end up back in heaven. They're not going to see the source again. The source is going to take those souls apart, dissemble them. It's above my pay grade, way beyond my understanding, but I've got a hint about it. So you do want to have a Savior in there who's paid the price and made sure that you don't even have to go before the great white throne judgment. You get claimed before that. It says, oh, he's one of mine. Oh, okay. Yeah, you have to have this advocate. That's what we need a Savior for, is to advocate for us. May Yahweh bless you. I have no idea how to entitle this one. It's my third video of the day. I took a couple of days off. May Yahweh bless you. If you have ideas or topics you want me to cover, put it in the comments. If you've got questions, or if I misspoke and said something, if it came out of my mouth in the wrong way, maybe my brain and mouth weren't connecting properly, then it's okay to correct me. I love correction. I love learning. So may Yahweh bless.